Hello, I'm ToycatA, and would you like to see the smallest ocean in Minecraft? Because recently, a Reddit user posted this chunk-based screenshot showing, as you can see, a single chunk of ocean that exists on a particular Minecraft seed, and of course there must be a bug or something with it, and that's what we'll be finding out in today's video. Is it really the smallest ocean, and if so, why? So let's dive into this seed, give you a little bit of a review as to what exactly is happening on one of the most interesting seeds that definitely falls under the seeds that are particularly interesting and worth checking out in some way, which as we all know is the mission statement of Seed Sunday. But yeah, as you can see, if you do type in this seed, you spawn right over here. If you want to get to that smallest ocean, you're going to need to head kind of leftwards across this interesting gap, by the way. Like, this is some very bizarre naturally spawning terrain that I haven't seen like that in a while, and you're going to want to head this way towards the mountainous biomes, because this ocean chunk, it looks like, spawns between a bunch of extreme hills, and as you can see looking at it, it does in fact spawn looking like this, taking over the size of about a chunk and a half. Obviously the chunk base can only round down to each chunk, but as you can see, this is a chunk of soul ocean. The way we can tell it's ocean is by going to the bottom, and as you can see, not only is it super deep and covered in gravel, but also we've got ourselves some seagrass right here. This is a very interesting ocean biome that, because it's an ocean, will spawn in certain weird fishes, will spawn in drowns, and it's just a very bizarre thing to find, honestly, because it raises the question of, like, why exactly is this? And obviously I can answer this question, but with a little bit of a teaser attached to it, because did you know this isn't even the smallest ocean on this unique seed? This looks like the smallest oceans, and thousands of Reddit users seem to agree with that, but it's not actually the smallest ocean you'll find, and let me prove that wrong after I show you around a little bit more of this seed, because this is a very interesting seed, but it's not a great seed for most people, and the reason for that is because you're surrounded by ocean. Something that sounds great on the surface, I mean, what doesn't, right? Like, oh yeah, ocean, you can put your boat on that or something, but in reality it means when you first spawn in, you're kind of constrained if you want to, explore by land, to kind of going over mountains or hopping in a boat. Those are your only real two options, as you can see, and although there is a nice plains biome right at the edge right here that you could argue makes a kind of great area, in reality having to get a boat from your spawn to wherever you want to settle down is generally not seen as great. But if you can overcome that fact, if you're willing to work with it, you can see that this spawn area is pretty interesting. There's a giant ravine over here, as you can see. There's also, if we follow the mountains just a little bit west, there's a village which is particularly interesting, and if we go past this smallest, air quotes, ocean in the game, you'll see that there is indeed a second ravine, but this one is much wackier than the first. As you can see, again, just weird things happen with this seed and its generation, things that lead to stuff like this happening. It's a ravine which is 1 block wide at its thinnest and 2 blocks wide at its very thickest, as you can see right here, but despite being so thin, it goes all the way down to Y11 like you would expect, which is kind of incredible when you think about it. And because some of it is kind of entirely submerged, there is this really dark portion of it which is just weird and wacky. It's submerged in obsidian, there's a little bit of lapis, which is a super rare, otherwise it's a very interesting thing to see. Also, look at this, there is water spawning directly next to lava. If you cause any chunk update to happen along here, it will turn into cobblestone like it already has over here for some reason. Like, there's a lot of questions. And then even more interesting than any of that is the fact that this ravine then combines with an abandoned mineshaft. I don't know how, I don't know why. Is this part of why it's so thin? We don't know for sure. What we do know is this is just a very wacky and weird abandoned mineshaft ravine combo. The ravine was already weird enough before you added this to it, and once you add the whole ravine thing, once you add this abandoned mineshaft combo, things get very, very strange. But you can see that it's not just limited to this, but you can explore to your heart's content if you want to. It's very easy. All you've got to do is jump from the surface right in there via this water, and then you can kind of flow down to where you want to be, which is very convenient to have a mineshaft which is open access in non-mesa biome. But also, if we head a little bit further in the same direction, you'll see how there is a village just over the mountain, and wow, it's a pretty normal village, right? No, it's not a normal village. Something about this seed, again, leads to some very weird results of the generation. You can see how there's clearly meant to be a river here, but this village cares not about the river at all. There are just giant bridges going across it. There is, as you can see right here, a few raised enclosures. There is an island, as you can see right here. And weirdly enough, if you look at the pattern of the entire village, it just makes a giant cross. Like, this is an incredibly wide village, as you can see right there. Super, super strange stuff, super bizarre to look at, and again, honestly, just a little bit confusing as to why or how it happened. But again, this seed just kind of fills the wacky quotient for quite some time. looking at it from the surface. Again, if you need to play this in survival, this is a great place to come. You can also head obviously further in the same direction, and you'll start to find more and more villages because the terrain gets a bit more normal. I say normal with a bit of an asterisk, because whenever you find structures, those structures seem to interact in weird ways. Like this is, for instance, a village which goes mostly through a forest, kind of odd by itself, and then also there's a ruined portal just over here, as you can see, that is pretty well formed, admittedly. It just requires 2 bits of obsidian, and then you're ready to go, and wow, we've got one of them already. So this is, again, just another bizarre example of a seed. We get 2 gold blocks, which is always nice. And if we do go to the Nether, you know what, for the first time right now, what do we find out? I feel like we should know. On the other side, there is a crimson forest. So, handy enough, I guess. It's a nicer than normal spawn if you want to enjoy the Nether update. There's also, interestingly enough, another ruined portal not that far away that also has 2 gold blocks in, although this requires a lot more drainage because obviously it's under lava, but still pretty cool in my opinion. So yeah, if we head back to the overworld, let's finish by talking about, you know, the thing that we came here to discuss. What's the deal with the oceans, ToycatA? What is the deal with those? So let's head back to the spawn area. Let's ignore the weirdness of stuff like this. Like, how and why did it generate so thin? I don't know. So yeah, if we head back to the spawn, you can see how looking at the terrain from above, it's very weird, it's very wacky. None of it really makes any sense. Look at these islands and just the shapes of them. This is not what you expect from your survival style islands. You don't expect to have giant islands with giant creeping holes in, but you also don't expect to see stuff like this. This is, as you can see, a ocean ruin, a thing that's meant to be at the bottom of the ocean, but here they are, chilling in a random river, so you can get access to a chest if you really want one with some coal and a treasure map. Here's another one chilling on the island, and weirdly enough, if we head a little bit further this way, you can see how they're not the only examples. There's one even closer to spawn, right over here, again, chilling on top of an island. Something about this seed clearly breaks the world gen in some way, or maybe it's just incredibly fortunate. You be the judge of which one it is, but let's explain exactly how you get an ocean biome which is 1 chunk large, when an ocean is meant to be this big, and even this is on the smaller side for an ocean, some might say. How do you end up with an ocean which is 1 chunk, or perhaps smaller, in size? Like, how does this happen? And the simplest answer we can give right here is the fact that there are biome transitions in Minecraft to kind of blend between, say, a extreme hills and a plains biome. You can see how the hill kind of goes downwards, and then the plains biome begins. Or in this case, a river begins, and then it goes back to an extreme hills, and then it goes to a plains biome, which is strange to look at, but you can kind of see like, oh yeah, every biome in Minecraft has a blend to make it make sense. You can't go straight from the top of the hill to a river. There has to be a kind of hill and mountain to get up with. So in the same way, when a mountain goes to an ocean, there's this kind of hill where it slowly fades down just like this. And usually the ocean surrounds it on all 3 sides like this. But sometimes if that mountain is a very weird shape, like you can see this one right here is very oddly shaped, it kind of curves around itself. The transition between the ocean and the mountain happens over here, it happens over here, it happens over here as well, and it doesn't make a full circle, but it does make an entire loop, I guess, start to finish, and you end up with a bit of an ocean, which as you can see is surrounded on all sides by mountain, because all parts of the mountain were transitioning to the same biome. Obviously that biome continues over here, and that's where the rest of the ocean is. In reality, it's the same ocean as considered by the game, but because there's a gap of extreme hills in it, you get this isolated little pocket of very deep ocean that just doesn't make any sense to anyone. Like, why is this here? What's going on? How can I use it to farm tridents? Oh, those are all good questions, right? But interestingly enough, it's not the only time this has happened. Obviously, there are other seeds where this happens a whole bunch, but on this exact same seed, closer to spawn than was mentioned right there, you can see this same thing happening. And as you can see right here, this is like a river. This is where rivers meet, and you get this kind of weird lake-looking thing that is really just some river biomes. But then right next to that, you can see and you can tell with absolute certainty that that river ends over here. And then as you can see, it's from 560 to 548, so it's 12 blocks across. As you can see right there, 3/4 of a chunk right here is made up of this super deep ocean. And you can see, do I need to tell you why this is a deep ocean? Do I need to tell you how this is clearly like a lake, a riverbank thing, and this is actually a cold ocean? I don't know if I do need to tell you that. But yeah, the fact that you can have this, the fact that this can exist right next to spawn, by the way. This is the spawn area right here, and this is the this is the ocean nearby. It's kind of crazy, and this is one that raises bigger questions. Like, well, clearly the rivers were meant to blend into an ocean, but why was there meant to be an ocean here, and why was it meant to be so small? Perhaps all of this was meant to be oceans, and then some of it was overwritten by rivers. as we all know, rivers kind of come later and mess with a lot of the generation. There's a lot of good questions about how all of this goes down and why. And honestly, I'd love to know the ins and outs of the Minecraft terrain generation. Obviously on Bedrock, the questions about it are still much bigger, still out there to be solved, and that's one of the beauties of Minecraft, is that, even though this is a major version, this is a game played by hundreds of millions of people, there are still some questions we can look at and be like, what is the scoop there? And personally, I like that. Personally, that's what I find to be one of the joys of Seed Sunday. But if you agree, let me know. Because overall, this is a seed that is particularly interesting. I find it to be worth checking out, but I don't find it to be the greatest seed ever. I mean, again, lots of ocean does not a good seed make. Lots of extreme hills and lots of ocean makes for a terrible seed to explore in survival. But maybe if you want a bad seed, this is a good seed. That is my only recommendation I can say for now. Otherwise, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I guess I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.